Welcome, everybody. And now call this meeting to order, the board meeting for the Wiseburn Unified School District for March 10th, 2022, now coming to order. Good to see everybody. Welcome. Thank you all. Good to see everybody here, board members, cabinet members, anyone in the community, educators and staff who are joining us here tonight. Thank you. This is a regularly scheduled board meeting. I like to call this our annual authorizations and approval meeting because we have a lot of annual things we'll be approving tonight. We also have two presentations, one a special presentation on our schools to watch redesignation for Dana Middle School. Very exciting, congratulations. And also Dr. Harbeck will be talking about our A through G completion grant plan. So looking forward to hearing that as well. At this time, may I ask for a motion to adopt the agenda? And I do have one stipulation I'd like to make. Greg Magnuson, our financial consultant, will be joining us at 6:30. Items 7, 3, 4, and 5 may involve his commentary, and I'd like to approve this with the potential caveat that we hold them until he returns with your approval. May I have a motion as such?
You have a motion with your comments.
Thank you, Nelson.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joanne. Ms. Uvaki, a vote, please.
Mr. Benlolos.
Aye.
Dr. Goldman.
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg.
Aye.
Ms. Canetta.
Aye.
Mr. Martinez.
Aye.
Thank you.
This may indeed be the last time I ask this of you, Dr. Harbeck, in a video format, because hopefully we'll be rejoining each other at our next meeting in person. But at this time, as we turn to the flag salute, we have a grand tradition with you, if you'd be so kind.
I would love that. Please stand. Place your hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you be seated, please.
Thank you, Dr. Harbeck. We'll now turn to public comments, but again, as before we do, we always look to share your thoughts. And those of you who comment on our website, a reminder to all that is there all the time waiting for your feedback to give us your input on any subject you wish. And if you mark board comments, we will reflect on those. There was one which commented on possibly looking into doing away with the symptom checker as the COVID-19 is mitigating. So I would in turn ask Dr. Silvers, if you could explore this and the ramifications thereof. Turning to public comments now, Ms. Subaki, do we have any public comments?
Let me look. If anyone has a public comment, please raise your hand on the bottom of the screen. If you hover, there is a button to click, raise hand.
And as she is looking, I'll remind everyone that we will allow no more than 20 minutes per board bylaw 9323, also allowing up to 3 minutes per person. And you'll have a reminder on the screen of the time countdown of which we'd ask you to adhere to. Ms. Subaki?
I do have one written comment that I would read into the record.
Thank you.
Dear Dr. Silvers and Wiseburn School Board, we are writing to express our dismay at the reckless disregard for our health and the safety of others that you have shown with the decision to move forward with open house in person this year. You have proceeded with an abundance of caution until now, and within the next 6 weeks, you are condoning the implementation of a no mask option when the CDC and other health institutions highly recommend mask wearing. We feel that 10 days after spring break, it would be irresponsible to allow possibly 100+ people to come into each classroom with no mask or vaccine requirement. We ask you to reconsider this decision with teachers and the health of our community in mind. Thank you for your time. This was submitted by Rebecca Robolato on behalf of ANZA teachers, Katie Nelson, Jordan Hayes, Elanya Thompson, Ruby Del Rio, Catherine Kundakshian, Christy Sullivan, Sylvia Wagner, Heidi Elliott, Becky Robolato, Maureen Martineau, Krista Pachuta, Rachel Pianin, Glaffy Carr, and Emma Smiley.
Thank you to the teachers of ANZA for those comments.
I do not have any further comments.
All right. As you know, due to board bylaw, we are unable to comment on specific items that are not on our agenda, but certainly in individual comments, you may comment and we can bring that up for further conversation in an additional meeting. Moving now to our special presentation, item 3.3, Dana Middle School Schools to Watch redesignation. Dr. Silvers, this is a proud moment. Take it away.
Yeah, I would first want to congratulate the entire Dana Middle School team. I did get a chance to travel to Monterey last week, Thursday morning, sorry, to be with Kiana Clark and Megan Engie as they accepted the award for Schools to Watch. Fourth redesignation, I think, right? Fifth redesignation. Yeah, wow. Time flies. So really, really awesome. Just really good to see the continued improvement at Dana Middle School, or just continued involvement. I wouldn't even say improvement as much as continuously evolving their program so that they are able to get this designation. So I thought Kiana and Megan just did a really phenomenal job representing Dana and also presenting. So we get to see part of that presentation today. So thank you both for allowing me to tag along with you last week. And it was really a pleasure to join you.
Thank you. I think, Wendy, you're going to bring up our presentation. Perfect. Good evening, and thank you for having us here tonight. As Dr. Silvers mentioned, this is a presentation that we were able to present in Monterey during our fifth redesignation. It was a 45-minute presentation, but I promise it won't be 45 minutes tonight. We know it's 10 minutes, and we're just really happy to share some of our systems and protocols that we're proud to practice at Dana. So the title of our presentation tonight is Successfully Addressing SEL in Academics. Next slide, Wendy. During our presentation, we did want to share about Dana, our demographics, our achievement data. We don't have to do that tonight, but we did share that with our audience in Monterey. And addressing SEL in academics could be a very broad topic. And so we really focused on three main areas that we have systematized and put protocols in place for. And that's scheduling and how you handle and manage your master schedule. The second topic is the settings for teachers to collaborate. And then the third topic was distributive leadership and teacher leadership on site. And those were the three things that we'll cover tonight as well. Next slide.
So this is me. Hi, everyone. One thing that helps Dana successfully address both SEL and academics needs of students is the organization by teams in the master schedule. So teams allow teachers to work with a set group of students and really promotes Dana's signature practices, which are student ownership of learning, student ownership of behavior, and the personalization of learning. Next slide, please. Thanks. Another essential feature of the master schedule is our use of an advisory period. So every teacher on a team teaches an advisory class, and we call that POD. I know we have a lot of acronyms in education, but that is not one of them. It's because we're the Dana Dolphins. POD really provides the space for consistent SEL and academic support. Some of the SEL supports that are rolled out in POD are student ownership of learning lessons. Students are consistently setting goals, reviewing their grades. As a lot of you probably know, we have the student-led conference at the end of the year. So in POD is where the students prep and really create their portfolio of student growth to show their parents at the end of the year. We do our SEL lessons. This year we're using the second step curriculum. We have teacher created, and in the past we've also used Oveus anti-bullying prevention lessons, and just really other rapport building and team building activities that teachers do with the students in that time. Some of our academic supports also include our IXL math diagnostics and our accelerated reading and literacy support. Next slide. Thank you.
So in tandem with topic one is topic two, which is the settings that we create for teachers to collaborate. So we're all really well aware that there's just not enough time in a school day for the collaboration to take place. And so for true collaboration to continue, you have to have a variety of settings for the learning and collaboration to take place for adults. And so these are the three main settings that we sustain and we really hold true to at Dana. And the first one is academic focused, and that's our shared prep time. So as Megan mentioned, within our teams, we make sure that every grade level partner who teaches the same content would share the same prep period or planning period. And what this means is it's 3 opportunities to collaborate a week. And that's really important when we're analyzing data, sharing best practices, even grading student work that's not on your team so that you can calibrate your grading and make sure that it's consistent. The second setting also addresses academics, and this is department collaboration time, or what we call TCT time. This is once a month when whole departments meet to analyze student work on a larger level, look at data, CASP data, STAR data, and share instructional practices between grade levels. So it's not enough to just share practices with your shared partner in your grade, but also your whole department, and how are we having consistency and articulating up with those practices. We're very thoughtful that it's happening once a month, TCT, so we also make sure that we plan it into our professional learning days or PD days throughout the year. There will always be department time where they're working together. And that third setting deals with SEL, and those are our rotating Wednesday meetings. This is when those grade level team meetings meet at least 2 times a month. And this is really looking at the students through the lens of a whole child. So our team's noticing behavior changes. Is one teacher noticing a student that's acting differently? Might we call a check-in as a team? So really looking at the social emotional side and making sure those needs are met. So you have to have these 3 settings and all of this collaboration opportunity for teachers. Next slide, Wendy. So what does that look like in real life? That chart is now laid out for you with our real teachers listed here. So shared prep time in 6th grade, you will have Miss Glotz, who teaches 6th grade English, and she will have planning time with Miss Owens, another 6th grade English teacher here. This means they're planning together Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They have 5th period prep. Miss Glotz is also part of a department. So that second setting, you'll see in department meetings, she's joined by Mrs. Owens again, as well as the 2 English teachers in 7th grade and the 2 English teachers in 8th grade. And they are meeting once a month for 2 hours. Then Ms. Glotz is also part of that third setting where she's on the team meeting side. She's a C-star, ocean themed for everything. So she's a C-star and she's joined with a math teacher, a social studies teacher, a science teacher, and in the C-star situation, a PE teacher. And they're meeting at least twice a month to do roll calls, checking on students, social emotional, and they share that same 160 students. So this is how it's laid out in real time and a real example of those 3 settings. Next slide, Wendy. And the third big topic, which I'm so proud of here at Dana, and I think plays so much into our redesignation, is distributive leadership. You can have a wonderful principal and great assistant principal, but that's not enough leadership on a site. If you want initiatives to begin and you want initiatives to sustain and to grow, you have to have teacher leadership and teachers that are invested and passionate and willing to help their colleagues. And at Dana, you have to recognize that the settings have to be there for those leaders to plan, and they have to be able to be trained and facilitated through that process. So this graph is really great because it shows the relationship between distributive leadership and the settings you create. So what I mean by that is if you're looking at the graph, team facilitators, that's one leader from every team that meets with me monthly to plan out the meetings that they will then lead in their team meetings. And then if you're looking at the ILT or the GC, we call them here in Dana or Wiseburn, you will have GC leaders that meet with me twice a month, and they will plan their TCT meetings and how to analyze data, gather the data, and lead their department through analyzing that. And so you have to have teacher leads, and you have to have a place and a time set aside for that leadership to foster. And of our current staff, I'm really proud to say that 62% of Dana's staff are currently or have been in a leadership role. That's a really high percentage, and I think that speaks to our teachers' dedication and commitment to our students to be a part of these leadership teams. Next slide.
Okay, so where are we going next? We've been talking a lot and we would love to use pod time for targeted academic support. So for example, the students are maybe struggling in math or English, could go to a particular math or English teacher and get a second lesson or get some enrichment lessons. And then our other students who are doing really well, maybe they go to the other math teacher for extra learning. So we're really hoping to pilot that even at the end of this year. I know the elementary schools are doing SEL for teachers. So we've talked about implementing that for Dana as well. And then just really continuing to expand our PBIS and SEL programs, really meeting students where they're at and looking at as a school what we need and growing from there.
I think that is the last slide. And now it's time for questions, and we stuck to our 10-minute limit.
Well done. Very exciting that you're thinking about the big picture, the whole child, living into that assurance so very well. We really appreciate it. Comments or questions from the board?
I have a comment. I just wanted to say that your next steps are really intriguing. And I think that really opens up a whole other dimension of possibilities for students and teachers. And I congratulate you on the courage that it takes to do that, because you know, people have to be vulnerable in order to the students will be vulnerable to see other teachers. The teachers will be in that same mode to see other students. And it's no wonder that you folks are redesignated, because with that kind of thinking, it just supports the community, the students, teachers, just everybody. So thank you very much. That looks exciting into the future as well as the present. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, a few comments from me as well. I'd like to congratulate obviously both of you for the presentation and for the redesignation. Thank you to all of our teachers, administration, of course, to our students at Dana. It's fantastic to see 5 times that it's redesignated. So that's actually quite difficult, I would think, to continue getting a redesignation, because you constantly have to be improvising, improving, or changing the way things are being done. So congratulations on that. I know it's very, very difficult to get 5 years, right? And I really like the concept of the distributive leadership groups. I think that really lends for an opportunity for everyone to contribute and lead in their respective positions. And by working together in leadership roles, I think together we accomplish more. So it takes a lot of strength to do that. And I want to commend everyone for actually doing it. I think it's fantastic. And again, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the wonderful presentation. Obviously, a lot of great work taking place at Dana Middle School, and congratulations on the redesignation. So congratulations.
Well, you know, I mentioned it's one thing to have the assurances on the page and on our wall, but you're living into them. As far as I can see, you're living to 3 of them. For example, the whole child you've addressed with SEL and academics, especially the math focus, which is something we've been needing to focus on. So appreciate that. The collaboration and community, certainly you're doing that, and organizational strength with all the leadership distribution. So thank you very much for excellent work. We're all very proud of you, and congratulations for representing Wiseburn so well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on now to section 4, which is district updates, and turn to you, Dr. Silvers, for 4.1 facilities.
Thank you, Dr. Goldman. Just one quick update on facilities. I just wanted to share an update on the Chevron potential use of the 135th and Aviation site. While we do have a signed agreement with Chevron, and you know, it does seem like they may not actually utilize our site. And so there's some good news to that. One is Chevron has committed $30,000 to upgrading the site, to putting binding, packing down, some sort of packing down of the dirt, the earth there, so that it could hold you know, 300 or plus cars on at one time, and not damage the cars or cause sinking and so forth. And so, you know, we're going to have $30,000 worth of prep, and also Chevron has committed the full $25,000 in rental fee to the district for the month that they were to use it, regardless of whether they use it or not. And then additionally, they've also allocated another $35,000 that the district could send to our STEAM programs, could utilize for our STEAM programs, or STEM, mainly our STEM programs. So looking forward to writing that. We have to write a request to Chevron for the $35,000, but really want to thank Lily Craig for her leadership here, for her collaboration and support of Dana, of Wiseburn. She's just been a tremendous support. And so, you know, whether they use it or not, I think that we're in a position where it's a win. So a gain for us and Chevron too, good partners. That's all I have on facilities, Neil. Dr. Goldman, sorry.
Why don't you continue to 4.2 Recreation Committee?
And we're moving on to rec. Okay, so I have been in several conversations here with the County of Los Angeles now. We've been communicating via email. I've also just recently had a conversation with Carl Cooper, who's one of the regional directors of Parks and Recreation of LA County Department of Parks and Rec, partly to discuss the renegotiation of the MOU, or the facilities use agreement that we have currently with the county for the use of the gym and the tennis courts over at the Del Air site, particularly. And one of the requests that I made, you know, of the county was to allow either Wiseburn and or our Da Vinci School partners to be able to utilize the field there that's to the south. So I guess it would be the southwest, I believe, side of the park there, the larger field that Da Vinci Schools has used year in and year out for softball programs, maybe even get a baseball team in there just for quick workouts and things like that. Obviously, we're not hitting the ball real far out there because we have a playground and we don't have the netting, but certainly we want to be able to utilize as much field space as we can, considering the current circumstances of our field space and the lack thereof, or just the heavy competition for use of our fields. And so, you know, what we do have are just really highly sought after. So that was part of our conversation initially, to which Carl shared with me that he believes that we could come up with some sort of deal. Obviously, we'll bring back to the board for parameters, and we'll discuss negotiations in further detail. These are just early conversations, a chance to kind of have an opportunity to stay on the docket with the county and continue the conversation. So next week, I'll be meeting with Holly Mitchell's office and the county leadership related to Parks and Rec, just to have some early conversations, you know, to start talking about desires, interests, and maybe what we would need to move forward to negotiate the contract. Again, not a formal negotiation, simply a conversation, but just wanted the board to be aware that we are engaging in that. I think that was one of the priorities that we had discussed early on, so wanted to share. And that's it.
Dr. Goldman, I have a comment here, if I may.
Please.
I was going to make it in my board comments, but the topic is along the same line, so I think it's appropriate to do it now. Just wanted to share a quick update. I don't have all of the details quite yet. As we all know, Da Vinci Schools with Wiseburn applied for the grant for the CTE studio that's currently in design. Unfortunately, there is a budget concern with that project right now, and I've received a report which I need to take a look at, and we'll be speaking with our Da Vinci partners and Steve Wallace with regards to that. But there is a budget concern in terms of the overall cost of the project. So given that, one of the options as we look to a potential negotiation with the county for the use of the gymnasium, should that project not be able to come about, the CTE studio, perhaps there's an opportunity where we can use that gymnasium to further support Da Vinci programs with career technology education, and possibly not enter a renewal with the county for that, because our needs throughout for our high school and our students are always increasing, and they're changing, and the programs are evolving as we move forward. It's impossible to anticipate all needs, of course, when we set out to establish a high school, but I wanted to share that with you because it's a very valuable program in terms of the CTE studio and the grant. I believe it was $1.5 million grant that Da Vinci received from the state, but also there's a match component there that Da Vinci has agreed to fund. However, if it's over budget and the project is not feasible in its current form, I wanted to share that there could be an opportunity there for us to partner as well, and maybe utilize that gymnasium if the project can be implemented in its current form. No decisions obviously made. I just wanted to share that as an update as well on the CTE studio, as it's very related to this. And the space being built is very, very similar. Open floor gymnasium, essentially workshop warehouse with high ceilings for the facilities is what they're really designing. So this is kind of fits the bill as well. So, okay, that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you, Roger. Any other comments, 4-1 or 4-2? All right, thank you, Blake. We appreciate you moving that forward. Let's go to information, and from the board, start with our Vice President, Nelson Martinez.
Thank you, Neil. Just one quick comment. I wanted to, again, congratulate the Da Vinci varsity soccer team. I know Neil joined me about a week ago. They went on to the state semifinals. We lost here at home last week, but it was quite a journey. They made it to the state semifinals. So congratulations on just a wonderful year for them. And that's all I have tonight, Neil.
And they played so well. They controlled the ball for 90%. They just couldn't get it in the goal. It was it was very fun.
Very exciting.
All right. Thank you, Nelson. Ms. Canetta.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I just had one comment, I guess, and it has to do with the fact that the mask rules in the classroom are going to be relieved as of Saturday, actually, but in the classroom, it'll be starting on Monday, the 14th. And I know everyone is happy to be in a position where we can relieve these rules, also scared, also confused, probably, as many times as the rules have changed. At my workplace, we're already not required to wear masks in our offices. And it's a very strange feeling to be sitting next to someone and having a close-up conversation with no mask. It's kind of amazing how fast we got used to wearing them and being very comfortable with them. So I appreciate that the community and our teachers, our staff, the students even are probably, going to move slowly into this new way, which was the old way, but it seems like a new way again. And so I encourage people to wear masks if they feel more comfortable doing that, to ease into the new situation. I encourage folks to respect each other and decisions in this changing times, because we all are going through the same thing. I'm sure all of you have had some experience with no mask at this point, and it's what we were used to, and we felt more comfortable that way. So my only comment then has to do with that, and to encourage folks to be respectful of each other, to make your own decisions, and allow others to make theirs. And Weisburn, as usual, will be following the guidance of the Department of Health and the rules that come out for our local area, as well as the state of California, and certainly whatever the United States decides to do. So, be patient with each other, and we'll make it through this next phase again. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Mr. Banuelos.
Took me longer to unmute, but I don't have any further comments. Thank you, Dr. Goldman.
All right. Thank you, Roger. Ms. Hamburg.
Thanks, Neil. Dr. Goldman.
Feels good.
All right. So I just wanted to make sure that the community is aware that the district is putting out calendars of events that are coming up that may not be school related, but holidays that are coming up or community celebrations. And thank you to Dr. Ingram for continuing to put those together and soliciting input. I know that I had provided some feedback around the Jewish holidays, and there were some very quick changes that were made to make sure that those were included. So grateful for all the work that's being done to share those things out with the community as we build out the DEI work within the district. And just wanted to lift that up and thank Dr. Inger and Dr. Silvers for being responsive to concerns when things were left off. And, inadvertently, there's so many holidays, I can't even keep track of all of them. So, so just wanted to say that. And then also wanted to thank the facilities team for their rapid response this weekend when that structure was blowing over at Dana, and able to get it down so that no one was hurt. That was very quick work, and really grateful that that everyone was able to do that very quickly. And then I guess on the masks, I'm grateful that folks are coming together and figuring out what's best for their families. And I know that there are families in the community who still need to wear masks for their own health and safety reasons, and want to make sure that folks know that the schools will still have them available, the KN95 or N95, the better high quality masks, to the extent that folks need them, and make sure that they know that they can get them, and that we're continuing to provide those, as needed. Because I think there are folks who don't have the resources to continue to buy them on their own, or may not have had them in the past. So grateful that we're continuing to do that. And then finally, just thank you to Wendy for all of the work that she does to make sure that we get like the things signed. And I needed something printed today, and she did that for me so I could sign it and get my assuming office statement submitted. So it's official. You can't get rid of me. No. But thank you, Wendy, for all the work that you do to support the board and the district. So that's it.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I echo those comments as we implore everyone to, again, remember that not only do people necessarily may need masks, but may prefer to use masks. We want to create a culture that's encouraging and inclusive to anyone, regardless of what their choice is, once the mask mandate is lifted. A couple other comments. I want to thank the Da Vinci board for their special meeting this week to fund the soccer field on the campus, which is very exciting to have that with a goal of completion in 2022, which I think is ambitious and exciting. Also want to thank Chevron for what amounts to about a $90,000 contribution upcoming. They're also preparing the former Dana site, old Dana, what we've called old Dana site, for use as a parking lot, as I've continued to push for additional ways we can raise revenues that can come back to our kids. And that's a nice opportunity they're helping us with. So thank you to Lily Craig and the Chevron folks. I think we may have talked about this last time, but I'm forgetting, and I want to make sure we did. So Dr. Silvers, Dylan Booth had the comment about food service. I don't know that we commented on our last meeting. If we did, and I'm forgetting, forgive me, but I think some progress has been made there. Did we comment on that last time? I'm going to
comment on that during my comments, but I'll just jump in real quick and share now. We got a nice thank you email from Dylan and his father, Joe, last week. And I just want to thank Michael Gengler from Chartwells for taking the time to meet with Dylan to discuss food options, but also he was able to see through a change, which was really nice for kids to be able to advocate for a change. And then so Michael was able to coordinate with Dylan to bring chicken strips to so not chicken nuggets, chicken strips to 138th Street School, and it was really, really popular. So just want to thank Michael for that. Thank Dylan for his advocacy, and definitely Mr. Booth for his support. It just was it's really awesome to see kids advocate for something and be able to see the fruits of their labor, so to speak, play out. So that's my update, Dr. Goldman.
I appreciate it. And as everyone knows, the strip is the healthiest and best part of the chicken. So it's good that we're serving that to our kids. All right, on a more serious note, we've talked about this, and I know Dr. Silvers, you and I talked prior to the meeting about setting up a schedule for board members to potentially on a regular basis visit the schools and encourage us to do that. We'll talk more about that, board members individually. So thank you. Let's now turn to our cabinet, and first our Director of Psychological Services, Ms. Mazzarella. Some thoughts from you.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to speak to an item that is down on the consent items, item 8.4, and the item is requesting an increase in additional funds to an existing non-public agency contract with Star of California. The current amount that's been authorized for this school year is $150,000, and I'm requesting an additional $170,000 to that contract through June. STAR provides one-on-one behavioral aids for our students who have this service on their IEPs. And as you all are aware, we've had quite challenges with staffing this year. And we've hired people, we've had people resign, more resign than we've hired. And so STAR has been great at providing this continuity for our students. And unfortunately, it is quite a large number of staff that we need. So I'm requesting that down below when you get to that item. But I do want to say that when I was going through invoices to date, I realized, and I knew this, but I didn't quite have the number, that we have 4 other non-public agency contracts that were board approved that I don't anticipate using, and that approved amount is $281,000. So I just wanted to share that so that I know that you know that I'm not going to spend that $241,000, and so the $170,000 hopefully won't be such a pain, sting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Peggy. Any questions for Peggy as we get, since she's talking about 8.4, we can ask her now if there's anything so we can get to that quickly when we do.
I just have a clarifying question. I think maybe the numbers were transposed. When you said it out loud, you were asking for 170, but I think on the item it says 150. I just want to make sure we know which one is the current amount and which one was the amount that was previously authorized. So,
okay. Oh, my apologies. Yes.
Okay.
You are correct. Yes, the already currently authorized amount is $170,000, and I'm requesting an authorization amount, another one of $150,000. My apologies.
Okay, no problem. Just wanted to make sure.
And I have that on my notes too, and I didn't read that correctly, so.
No problem.
All good. And thank you for, these are essential services. This is replacing those personnel we would have to have on staff, probably at a higher cost per personnel, but a very impressive sales pitch to tell us the money you've saved before asking for additional. So well done, Peggy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Moving to our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Dr. Dougal.
Good evening, everyone. Many of you have already talked about masking, but just want to remind everyone, as well as the previous communications the district has put out, that for us, starting on Monday, March 14th, masking indoors will be strongly recommended and no longer required. A few weeks ago, outdoor masking was under the same policy, is that no longer required, but still strongly recommended. And yes, masks are available in the office. Teachers have boxes as well in their classroom. We have both kid size as well as adult masks available for those that want them and need them. And so they are available and they will continue to be available. But I do want to remind everyone about respecting personal choice. It's something that our principals have communicated, Dr. Silvers has communicated, and that at our school sites, the expectation is that individual choice is respected. Teachers have also talked to students about this process. And so we encourage the parents to also speak to their children and to not make assumptions regarding someone's beliefs or health status, nor should they comment on them. So there will be students that are still comfortable wearing masks. There's going to be staff members that will want to wear masks, and there's going to be others that do not. And so we want to encourage our students and our staff to respect anyone who requests that they remain physically distanced from them as well. And we will continue to provide physical distancing to the extent possible in classrooms. And so once again, for families out there, we encourage you to continue dialogue with students as they start to see others unmasking. And if there are any concerns that we can address, please do let the school sites know. That's it.
Well said, Dr. Dougal. Thank you very much. We'll now turn to our Assistant Superintendent for Ed Services, Dr. Harbeck, and I think you have a presentation for us.
We do. Thank you, Dr. Goldman. Tonight, we're going to be presenting on a new grant that we are pending. We hope to receive an A through G completion grant. We'd like to put forward our plan to you tonight. This is a requirement, tonight's presentation. We must proceed in front of the board before April 1st. So just some background, the A through G college entrance requirements are a sequence of high school courses that students must complete with a grade of C or higher in order to be eligible for the University of California and the CSU or California State University programs. This grant is directed to our Success Learning Center. So tonight I've asked Dr. Tammy Dakowitz to be here tonight and to present for us. Wendy, if you could bring up the presentation. Welcome, Dr. Dakowitz. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, very good. Thank you for being here. We just have a couple of slides for the presentation.
Great, well, thank you so much for having me tonight. And as Dr. Harbeck said, my name is Tammy Dakowitz, Dr. Tammy Dakowitz, and I am the principal at the Success Learning Center. So thank you, everybody. And the A through G completion grant was established to provide supports for students who are struggling or who are not able to achieve a grade of C or better in A through G courses. And A through G courses A through G defines courses that are needed to get into college. And the established grant allocation for this particular grant that we are applying for is $3,500 approximately. And the allowable focus areas are professional development, pupil supports, and expanded access to coursework. So we will be targeting the allowable focus area of pupil supports, and we will be providing that through academic coaches who will be supporting our students. Next slide, Wendy. The expenditures associated with this grant will be used to support the LCAP goal number 3, which assures all students leave our schools with positive views of self, supported by knowledge, skills, and attitudes to equip them for an evolving world. Expenditures will support students in being future ready through additional academic coaches for students who are at risk of not completing these A through G courses. And supports will be provided through consultants who will work with our students as academic coaches on a weekly basis at the SLC.
Tammy, thank you. You know, what's interesting about this grant, it's a small grant for the SLC, which is also a small school, but you'll see that this grant is all across the state of California and is improving our opportunities for many students across the state for A through G, depending on your UPP or unduplicated pupil population enrollment. So there's that piece as well. It's not just the number of students, it's our low income, our foster youth, and our English learners as well. So Dr. Dockwitz, thank you so much. Do we have any questions tonight on the plan?
I have a comment. First of all, thank you for looking into this grant and for making this application. I think it's wonderful. I also saw in the write-up that was provided to us in the agenda that it's also set up for academic coaching specific to a student's needs. So I really like that because it's really targeting the individualized learning for students and that support. So it's a very supportive process so that they can hit those targets and goals of A through G requirements. So again, thank you for looking into this grant. The purpose and the need and the intent is wonderful. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I only wish this were 10 times more money and encourage us to continue to looking for grant opportunities. And Dr. D, just a comment. Thank you for the sunshine you spread on the world, the gift you give to our kids at SLC, and just I keep sharing the wonderful things you're doing. I'm assuming you're sending not only to me, but the rest of the board, all the amazing things you do at SLC. We are incredibly appreciative, so grateful to have you, and thank you for pursuing this grant.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for all of your support. We could never do it without you. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, that closes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our superintendent, Dr. Silvers.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Goldman. As usual, people generally take all of my points that I like to talk about in earlier comments, but it's I do want to reiterate a few things. First, I just want to further amplify Dana Middle School's award and just share one item about this award. You know, one of the ideas is not to create a program that is a terminal program. Really, the idea is to create a program that's replicable, because as you go out and you advocate and present to other schools, you want to provide a program where it can be actually removed essentially, or taken and replicated out of Dana Middle School and then brought to any middle school and not cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement, where it could be done at a nominal fee and some dedication and time. And so, it's really a nice program. California Schools to Watch, the middle school program, particularly because it gets those middle grades together to talk about continuous improvement and provide opportunities to learn and grow from each other, from a peer group. So really happy to hear that and to be a part of that. Secondly, I just wanted to thank, Kiana and Megan and then Eileen for bringing forth the focus on teaching and learning, on the A through G requirements, on the grant, also talking about, obviously, the systems at Dana Middle School. Just wanted to bring back to the conversation, and not that it ever left per se, but really highlighting teaching and learning for our students, and highlighting one of those or two of those initiatives at every board meeting so that we could continue this work together. I want to thank Dr. Ingram as well. We're now celebrating Women's History Month, and Dr. Ingram has just been really phenomenal about including our community and the diverse community that we're lucky enough to work in and live in, go to school in, to really bring out that diversity and to celebrate it. So, thank you to Dr. Ingram for her support and work. I share this, I really appreciate Joanne's comment earlier regarding masks, and certainly in support of what Nisha shared, which is this idea of, supporting our students that are wearing masks, those that aren't wearing masks, teachers that are wearing masks, those that aren't wearing masks, and also trying to bring out of this, really crazy 2 years, a sense of normalcy, and as we start moving towards this more sense of normal, we're seeing across the county of Los Angeles, mega events are starting to reopen, and restaurants and other places of business are now opening, and people are choosing to or not to wear masks. And the same will be a decision that our families will make. And again, appreciate too what Ms. Hamburg shared, that it is a family choice. It is a family discussion that should happen. And hopefully we've given families a couple weeks to be able to have those discussions. We do have counselors at our school site should there be a need to reach out to counselors just to help support any of the change that we're going through and that our students and staff may be feeling at this moment. But on the agenda today, we'll see a camp, agenda item, for a camp for 6th and 7th graders. Generally, we do a 6th grade camp as students matriculate into Dana to provide a chance for them to meet and greet each other. Well, that's just been absent, for several years, 2 years, 2+ years. And so we're really happy to be able to bring that opportunity back for our students and wanting to celebrate with our 7th graders as well, who didn't get that opportunity last year. So kind of make up for lost time a little bit and bring them together. So I'm excited about that opportunity. And it will be, from what I understand, a mask optional event as well, as the camp sites will also be honoring LADPH and California Department of Public Health guidelines. It's actually not in LA County, but it will be CDPH guidelines. Then the last piece is I want to thank Dr. Harbeck for spearheading the, on behalf of the district, really putting forth a lot of time on the dual language immersion grant, working with a grant writer to help support our progress forward, really aligning with our assurances of providing a future ready opportunity for our students. And second language acquisition is so important, as we can see, in the millions of dollars that the state superintendent has put forth for this grant in California, and certainly hoping that more will come, in the coming years. But this is program development at its best, is trying to identify how we can utilize a finite amount of funds for a 3-year process, of trying to implement, a program that's sustainable and that's impactful for our students and our community. And we know there'll be some hiccups along the way. Anytime, you do something, this is a huge lift for an immersion program. But, I think one of the first conversations I had with Mr. Martinez was about dual language immersion when I was hired here about 15 years ago. So, it's been a lot of talk and conversation about this, and really excited about, the opportunity to bring this to the board as a possibility. And again, maybe, things will pencil out for us this time around. So I'm just excited about bringing this. So thank you, Dr. Harbeck, for your time, and Dr. Goldman and everybody on the board for the support. Nothing further from me.
Thank you, Dr. Silvers. We'll turn now to section 6, general. Item 6.1, adopt resolution number 21/22.17, proclaiming a local emergency. This allows us to continue in this format with Zoom. It's something we do the first meeting of every month. Needs to be done so we can continue in this meeting. A motion, please.
I'll move.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I was on mute. I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. Vote, please, Ms. Subaki.
Mr. Banuelos?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
All right. Action items, fiscal, section 7. 7.1, approve waiver submission of Title I Part A school-wide program for Wanda Anza and 138th Street schools. A motion, please.
Yeah, motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joanne. Questions or comments on this? This allows us to get the waiver to allow us to distribute the funds to all our students.
Yeah, Eileen, did you want to elaborate on this at all, or you know, Dr. Goldman, would it be helpful if we just gave a little bit of context on this?
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Yep, we've been allowed to go ahead and submit a waiver, and this happens when what we have are called school-wide programs at 2 of our sites for Title I funding. And this funding is school-wide because all children benefit, although it is uniquely directed towards students who are identified as low income. So as our numbers have dropped in some way, we go below the threshold, we are required to submit a waiver, which allows us to continue our grandfather in. So we're watching those numbers, of course, we're watching where we're going with this and watching the rules. But for this year, the waiver is required, and so we're happy to submit it.
Question. Oh.
Go ahead, Roger.
Question on this. So since these are targeted funds, the students that are of low income, we still support those students with additional services or early what's it called, early intervention and all of it. This doesn't change what we've been doing, right? This makes it more of a school-wide. They still have access to all of those support systems, correct?
Absolutely. Okay. We develop these programs with the students who are identified as low income in mind as our first and foremost. We identify that as our primary focus. The fact that it can serve other children makes it, of course, more usable in the school district and more valuable, so that students have more of a sense of equity on campus.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Hearing no other comments, it's been motioned and seconded. Wendy, please.
Mr. Banuelos?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving to item 7.2, adopt resolution number 21/22.18, reissuance of stale dated warrants. These are simply those things that have not been cashed and the time has expired on the initial authorization. Anything else to add there, Dr. Silvers, for explanation?
No, this would just be, this is something that we do every year, just to provide opportunity for the staff to reissue checks and we always account for them, obviously, and make sure that we're judicious about that process.
A motion and a second needed, please.
You have a motion.
Second.
Thank you both. With no additional comments, Wendy?
Mr. Banuelos?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. In lieu of the fact for our initial approval of the agenda that Mr. Magnuson is not with us, we will skip 7.3 through 7.5 at this moment, come back to them and go to 7.6, approve declaration of indefinite salaries for 22-23. And then this is another thing we do every year. This is the not about perfunctory meeting, but these are the authorization meeting we do in March every year. Motion, please.
You have a motion, Neil.
Thank you.
A second.
Go ahead. Thank you,
Roger. Thank you very much, Roger.
Thank you.
Dr. Goldman, I'll just share real quick. This is just allowing us to negotiate contracts as per direction from the board and parameters from the board, and our discussions on contract negotiations or salary increases for our staff, and then being able to retro that salary increase. Again, that would require separate board approval for the actual.
Of course, this gives us the authorization to do it. We're not doing it yet.
Exactly.
Got it. Ms. Subaki.
Banuelos?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 7.7, ratify additional funds consultants agreement, Erica Corder. This is for our consultant for communications. Motion, please.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Joanne.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any comments or questions here?
I would just give a big thank you to someone who is just really dedicated to providing, if you look at all of our COVID-19 dashboard information and website and weekly, monthly newsletters and newsletters about masking mandates and just trying to juggle all of those things. As you can imagine, it's hard enough to interpret those when you're implementing them. It's probably harder to interpret them to communicate them. So, and to communicate them effectively and really make the organization move from a communication standpoint. So really, really appreciative for Erica's work on this and glad to present this to the board today for potential approval.
Absolutely. Glad to have her on the team. We have made great strides. Thank you, Dr. Silvers, for pushing us in our communication, and Erica for being so helpful in making that happen. So any other comments before we vote? Ms. Suvaki, call the question, please.
Mr. Banuelos?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Thank you.
7.8, approve a consultant's agreement with Jaime Hernandez for E-rate services. Again, another annual approval that allows us to buy in the E-rate system and save us significant money more than the investment, is my understanding. Any comments or questions? Actually, let's have a motion, please, first.
You have a motion.
Thank you, Nelson.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger.
Can answer specific questions. Otherwise, I think you captured it pretty good there, Dr. Goldman.
Looks like we're all right. Wendy?
Mr. Banuelos?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 7.9, approve a contract with the Pali Institute. This is that exciting opportunity that we'll ask Dr. Silvers to elaborate on a little bit more, but a motion first, please.
A motion.
Thank you, Joanne.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Dr. Silvers, this is that opportunity for camp, not only for this year, but seventh graders who missed it last year. A little more context for us.
Yeah, sure. So I want to, again, thank the Dana team, Kevin and Kiana, for really researching this and finding an opportunity that is that's healthy, that's safe, that other schools around the South Bay and the greater Los Angeles area, at least, I'm sure more, are utilizing for students, even during COVID when masks were needed. But this is an opportunity for us to bring 400 students. We would average right in the neighborhood of 200 kids in sixth grade when they went to camp. So we just are making an estimate that we would probably have about 400 students when you're talking about a sixth grade and a seventh grade, and they get to go at the same time. They'll be separated on the site. So seventh grade will be in a separate wing, I guess, or location within the camp, and sixth grade, and they'll operate somewhat independently. So it's kind of a seventh grade camp operating and then the sixth grade camp operating. What you see before you, the $128,640, a large part of that will be recouped from parent pay. It's a parent pay program, as it is across the county. Generally, it's covered by parents. We are working on a cost to bring that cost down as low as we can, maybe utilizing our Dana gymnasium funds to help support and subsidize some of the trips, so it's not super expensive. And that's something that we've done for about 8 or 10 years, is utilize that funds. And I believe also the Wiseman Ed Foundation has provided some funds for Dana Middle School to scholarship students, as also through the camp program. So what we're committing to today is really simply $1,500 to hold the date, because it's very competitive to get these dates in the books. And so we'll hold the dates. I know Kiana has a robust process of getting RSVPs and being able to identify numbers, so that, if we need to change the number from right now to 400, if we need to cut numbers down so we save some money, we will. We'll have a good idea in the next 2 to 3 weeks as to what those numbers are looking like. So, again, this is more of a start to being able to start planning this and getting the contract signed.
I have a couple of questions. Sure. Here on the agenda item, it actually says that this is a pay-per-use program. So is it pay-per-use, and as in the district pays for it? Or, Dr. Silvers, I think I just heard you say this is actually a parent pay program. Which of the two is it, or is it a combination?
No, it's a combination. The district covers a portion of it, but like buses and things like that. But technically speaking, it's a parent pay per use program. So it's about $250 per student that the parent, we wanted to keep it to the same cost as what sixth grade camp costs, which was about $250 per student. And then the district will utilize the gym rental fees to cover whatever that delta is between the cost per student and what the buses cost and any sub rates or sub fees that we need to pay for teachers that go.
So we would have, okay, so I think that answers the first question. And then if we have capacity with the 400 students that you mentioned, so if everybody wanted to go in 6th and 7th grade, could they go, or would there be a lottery system? How are the students, because if there's a lot of interest, I want to make sure that we're providing access to it, because if some in the past, for example, our Catalina trip that we used to have, that not everyone had an opportunity to go to such a program because of capacity.
Right.
Todd, please share a little bit about that in terms of if students want to go and the parents want to pay for it.
Yeah.
What's the capacity that's built in?
Sure. So we basically have never brought more than 200 kids on a camp, and those were our high end numbers. Were 200. That's why we projected the 200 per grade level, just for estimation or estimating. And just for context, the Catalina trip, at first we only were able to accommodate 70 kids. So, there was a large number of students that couldn't, but even that didn't really touch 200 or got, it was like around 150, 170. So, at 200, we believe that's enough to cover the need. Should that number go up above that that 200 per grade level, then we'll just call Pali Camp and maybe try and increase that number. But our goal would be anybody that wants to go should be able to go.
Okay.
And worst case scenario, I mean, obviously, we'll have to deal with it, but I don't suspect that to be the case. We're hopeful.
Okay, and the final question I had, I saw in the proposal from Pali that there's 16 student scholarships built into the overall price. How would the scholarships themselves be allocated? Is that on a low income, first come, first served basis? Is it a lottery system? How will that be handled?
So I would probably defer some of the logistics to Kiana. However, in talking to her, just briefly about it, part of it's going to be parents do reach out, and this happens, frequently when we do these trips, as parents will reach out or other community members will reach out on behalf of someone who may need some support, and then we do there is a process by which we work with the family to provide a scholarship. So it is a request by the family to do that. Kiana, I believe, has already had some conversations with people, who have reached out wanting to go to camp. Although it's not publicized, we have started to share that we're going to go. So we'll have to contact those families as well, make sure that we dot the I's on it and that they have the opportunity. Also, to the rest of it though is, and we won't get that many just historically. So the rest of that, we just cut the cost of the trip. We're saving on bus. We'll just put that towards our bus costs and all of our indirect costs that go into it. So it just lessens the district's liability on the trip.
So those are need-based though, right? It's not just a random lottery for it. It's need-based.
That's right.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question on that. Do our families understand that there's the opportunity to apply if they don't have the funds? And if we got 17 or 25 students, this is such a remarkable opportunity. If it's within the budget we're approving today, I'd hope we'd make that available for the kids.
Sure. Yeah, let me reach out to Kiana on that, Dr. Goldman and Mr. Banuelos, and I'll just make sure that we're advocating and messaging that appropriately.
I'd hate to have someone feel like they couldn't afford it, so they didn't even apply. That'd just be a tragedy.
Sure, it's a real good point. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think we have a a motion and second here, so we need a vote then.
Close.
Aye.
Dr. Goldman.
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg.
Aye.
Ms. Canetta.
Aye.
Mr. Martinez.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we'll come back to the other 7 items, assuming Greg's able to join us. If not, we'll come back to him regardless. But let's continue on action items consent. And we can have a motion for all 4 of these if someone is inclined.
I'm inclined. Go ahead, Joanne. I'm going to go after you anyways.
Okay, I'm so inclined. Yes, I'll motion all 4.
I would second 8.1 through 8.4.
Thank you. That's not inclined, that's eager, and we appreciate it.
Dr. Goldman, I think you got 2 motions in 2 seconds on that one.
I know, I think so too.
All right. Thank you on 8.4, Peggy. Thank you for your comments here. Are there any other questions or comments relative to these items? Hearing none, let's have a vote.
Mr. Ben-Willis?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Thank you.
Action items, personnel, section 991, consider adoption of resolution 21/22.22, release of temporary certificated employees. Again, our annual March event where we do this. A motion, please.
You have a motion?
Second.
Thank you both. This is just our mandated requirement with the intention that everybody's coming back. Comment or question? No. Vote, please.
Mr. Ben-Willis?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. So Wendy, we'll scroll back up and we'll return to 7.3 to 7.5. Adoption of resolutions 21, 22, 19, 20, and 21 regarding cash borrowing and delegation of administrative authority. I thought it might be useful to have Mr. Magnuson give us a little background here, but first of all, motion, please.
You have a motion?
Thank you.
Could I motion 7.3 through 7.5?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you both.
3 through 5. Yes.
This is something we do every year.
Yeah.
It gives us the authority to do it. We don't have to do it, but if needed, we can do it. I believe we did need it in prior years, especially during early COVID times with delay in payments from the state and the federal government. However, this year, I don't think it's expected, Dr. Silvers, or I don't know. Sure.
No, we don't have a cash flow issue right now. So 7.3 would be the outside LACO loan, essentially. And then we have 7.4, which would be allowing the district to make minor changes to the budget. It generally does not include any type of addition to the budget or additional dollars to the budget. It's moving around a $30 million or so budget. And if you allocated money to one account, that you have the ability to move it around and put it towards another account string as we adjust. And we know that we need adjustments. But again, they're small, they're routine usually in nature, not material. And certainly as we go through our first interim and second interim, we report those changes as best possible to the board so that you're approving real numbers in real time. So, I mean, that's definitely the 30,000 foot view of it. If there's any specific questions, I can try and answer them as best I can, certainly. And if Greg jumps on, he could probably answer them in more detail. But the last one is simply moving money at 7.5 is us being able to use our own funds and basically, for instance, if we use Fund 20, we've done that in the past to be able to cover cash flow issues. In other accounts, we would do that as well. So, just providing us the ability to run our business services and make payroll every month.
I think that was pretty clear. Any questions, comments from anybody? All right. Thank you, Blake.
Sure.
Andy.
Mr. Ben-Willis?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, Wendy, we'll scroll down now to item 11, upcoming dates and events. And as we are going here, it was brought to my attention appropriately that we should talk about our next board meeting process. It's Blake, Dr. Silvers, I think you had a thought here.
Yeah, I did. I actually wrote it down to not forget as we left the meeting here. So, I would like to, ask the board if at the March 24th board meeting that may come back in person where we would not have to wear masks. Again, it could be a personal choice, of course, and that would include, board members and any public that wanted to come and see the board meeting. We'll also stream it. We're working on a couple options to stream. Hopefully, the better of the two will be in play by then. But if not, we will still offer the opportunity for public comment and for streaming via this our boardroom. So wanted to put that out there. If that's something that the board would wish to do, would be glad to arrange for that.
Thoughts?
Thoughts about coming back in person?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I'm definitely ready to do that.
I'd like to come back in person as well.
I'd like to come back as well.
And I'm happy to come back in person, and just looking forward to being able to have the public continue to be able to participate, whether they can come in person or not. So thank you for continuing to find ways for us to be able to do that. I think it's been a real benefit for a lot of community members, not just during the pandemic, but for those of us with small kids at home, it takes a bit to be able to go over and participate in the meetings. And so that having that streaming option and having the ability to comment via video has been incredibly helpful. So glad that we're continuing to look at that even as we come back in person.
My expectation is long after we forget exactly how this started, the idea of streaming and recorded board meetings is a legacy of COVID-19 that we will probably have long into the future, even forgetting why it started. But this will be one of the things that stays with us as a result of COVID, which ironically is one of the positives we can find a silver lining.
We're in good company. You know, the U.S. Supreme Court did not provide same-day audio and video of oral arguments until the pandemic. So, you know, we're in good company there.
Well, if you can equate us with the Supreme Court, welcome to the board, Rebecca. Well done. Dr. Silver's other upcoming events.
Yeah, one thing I do want to clarify is that we are working to for our next board meeting for March 24th to have a special board meeting. I believe Wendy sent an invite to all the board members so that we could review our LPA master plan. Did have a chance really quickly to preview some of the field options that they shared regarding 135th and Aviation site, and as well as the Del Air site. So I'm really excited to have the opportunity to share that and other items with the board at that meeting, led by Rick Musto and Joe May Lau. So really looking forward to that. And
wait, that meeting's at 4 o'clock, correct?
That's correct.
Wait.
That's right.
5.
4 o'clock. Yeah. So that the open session meeting. So our regularly scheduled meeting still starts at 4. We're going to hold a special board workshop at 4 o'clock, and we'll post that accordingly. And that would just be the LPA board presentation or board workshap. Sorry.
Can we start over? I have no idea what you're talking about.
So yeah, so LPA is LPA, our master plan architect group, is going to manage a board workshop to review just the different tenets of the master plan, what's changed, priorities, be able to have a conversation about cost, look at the fields, get schematics that have changed since COVID, and so.
And when is that going to be?
It's at we were hoping for the regularly scheduled board meeting starting an hour earlier. So instead of 5, starting it at 4.
Which regularly scheduled board meeting?
On March 24th.
Okay.
Blake, I'd like to, because it's been a while, I'd like to request that perhaps if we can have the original master plan sent out to each of the board members.
Sure. Will do. I'll send it out to you tomorrow.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Did Wendy already send out something for that 4 o'clock time frame? I must have missed it. Did it come out this afternoon? Wow.
No, earlier this week. I think it was a couple days ago, right, Wendy?
Yeah, I totally missed it. So Wendy,
we asked her to skip you, Joe, so it's fine.
That's fine.
I'll resend it.
We'll send you a new one. So it's the first time.
I thought I kept up with everything, but this is like either Groundhog Day or something. So please send it again. Thank you.
All right. Other things coming up.
I think we should amplify Rock Around the Block. Yeah, I think I'm getting in the dunk tank, so we're gonna. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm gonna dunk you then.
I think you have to beat my son. He's gonna be the first one to come push the button or something.
I have a question about the meeting on April 20th.
And the website, T-shirts and tickets are available now, so it's.
All right.
The meeting on Wednesday the 20th. Is there a reason it's on a Wednesday?
Wendy, what is the reason? I'm sure there is. Was there a reason for that?
Yes, there's a reason.
There is, it's open house.
Open house at
Oh, that's what it
138.
was. Yeah.
I will not be able to make that meeting on the 20th. I didn't realize it was on the 20th.
Thank you.
So I encourage folks to buy their tickets and t-shirts for Rock Around the Block, because you can do that now. So if you go to WEF's Facebook page or their Instagram page, there's links to do that.
All right.
Thank you. Any other comments, issues, or items to bring up at this time?
Well, hold on. I did with the Rock Around the Block. Is the silent auction going to be opening? When do you know when that's going to open, Rebecca?
My understanding is that there will be a single auction this year, so it's all going to be online. They're not going to do separate open and close.
Okay.
It's all going to be open, and then I think it's going to close the day after Rock Around the Block on May 1st.
Okay.
And then pickup will be the following week. That's my understanding.
That's exciting. I love that.
Yeah. I encourage folks, if you have auction items or things that you want to contribute, that is a significant portion of the money that Wiseburn Education Foundation raises to support the programs in the schools is through the auction items. So if folks own a business or have connections with a business that either wants to sponsor or wants to contribute to the auction, please reach out to WEF and get those items into the auction. I know they're still looking for contributions. So,
Rebecca, was that Ann that you send that we send if we do have a donation of some sort, we'd send that to Ann?
Yeah, I think Ann is the best person to contact, but you can also send an email to info@wiseburnedfoundation.org, and someone will get back to you, whoever the right person is. But Ann's always a good default, but just send it to the info@wiseburnedfoundation.org in case there's someone else besides her who might be picking up some of the slack.
And any additional communications from the district prior to then, especially if coming soon, be nice to add that. This is all money that goes to our teachers and our students to support education. So all good cause.
Yes. We're excited that it's back in person this year.
Oh,
I think it's going to be great. It's such a good event. I'm so excited for all the kids who've never experienced it to be able to experience it. Looking back through my records, it's been 3 years. 2019 was the last time that we had a full in-person Rock Around the Block. So it's going to be great. The parade last year was awesome. And that was a nice way for us to bring something back, but it's going to be great to be back with everybody in person. And I know they're working real hard to make it a fun event like it always is.
Excellent.
So anybody wants to volunteer, they're always looking for volunteers too. So make sure you're reaching out to them.
Any other issues or comments? All right, at 7:18, we will adjourn this meeting. Board, if you'll join us back on closed for an additional second close briefly, we'll do that in 5 minutes at 7:23.
I'll make sure to be there.
Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right, good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.